Okay, we're going to go ahead and pick up where we left off. So, the next goal we're going to be talking about is being accurate in your wording. And this is important because depending on which industry you go into, and depending on the type of writing that you are working on, your report, your memo are going to be official company documents, official company language that is pretty much putting your organization's, your company's reputation and staking it on this piece of writing. So you never want to sacrifice clarity for conciseness. You never want to be that writer where you think, oh, I have too much going on. I just need to cut some of these things. And I think that they should be able to understand this. No, while we want to be concise and clear writers, you also want to be ethical. You also want to make sure your reader understands what's going on. So, careful writing always helps to limit liability that your organization might incur. So, just keep your goal very simple. Make sure the words convey the meaning you intend, no more, no less. If I can get the deck to work. There it goes. I apologize. Okay. So, how do you be accurate in your wording? So, this can be one thing is distinguish. So, you want to make sure what you are writing, what is it? Is it facts or is it opinions? And whatever it is, whether it's a fact or opinion, make sure you are clearly stating that. So you are clearly marking what is an opinion versus what is a fact. So mark your opinions with phrases such as we recommend or we believe in our opinion. That makes it very easy to understand. And you want to sometimes group your opinions together to avoid repetition. When it comes to include, you want to include qualifying statements. So use qualifiers when data is sometimes limited. There's been maybe a small data pool, or you had to get this data pool from another company, another resource. This just prevents misinterpretation. So just be very transparent about the data you're using, the methods that you used, whatever you are doing, make sure you are clear about that. So I gave an example. For example, our summary of soil conditions is based only on information obtained during a brief visit to the site. We did not drill any soil borings. So you are letting everyone know that this writing that you based off of soil interpretations, that this was due to a very brief visit to the site. It lets everyone know where the data came from and how you attained that data. And use absolute words carefully. So you want to avoid overpromising with absolutes. Always minimize. We can guarantee this. You never want to guarantee anything unless you are absolutely sure you can guarantee something. So make sure you use very precise words, very precise language. And this can be reduced, likely, we may have a limit. Use that type of language when it comes to trying to be very accurate. So, active voice and passive voice. This is the bane of every writer's existence. I absolutely struggle with this, so you are not alone. It is very difficult, but it is possible. It's more like a muscle. You just got to keep working on it and working on it. But the key takeaway I want to make sure you understand about active voice and passive voice is that your active voice should always be the default when it comes to your writing. You want to use passive voice sparingly, especially when the action, whatever that is, matters more than the subject. So, active voice is when the subject does the action. So, you'll see some examples. Matt completed the field study yesterday. So it's very clear, shorter, it shows responsibility. Versus passive voice, it's the subject receiving the action. So you'll see an example Matt completed the field study yesterday, active voice. But a passive voice would be the field study was completed by Matt yesterday. That is very wordy and it often hides like the main point. It hides the subject. It hides what is going on. So use active voice when you want to emphasize who is responsible or drive home a point. We recommend active voice, right to the point. You want to highlight something. Figure one shows. The word of the day, the word of this session is concise. It just active voice helps keep your writing concise. It is sometimes okay to use passive voice though. So you want to use passive voice when you want to emphasize the action or object instead of the who is responsible. So samples will be sent to the lab and you give a date. You want to make sure avoid repeating we and I, and try to add some variety to your sentence flow. So that's what I said. Passive voice is very much of we will or was completed. It's very rare you want to try to actively use passive voice. So that's why I said active voice should be your default, but use passive voice when the action is more important than the actor. And then lastly, when it comes to being a concise, simple writer, is using non-sexist language. Now, this does not mean being respectful, which of course you should always be respectful when it comes to your writing. But this is actually how do you address a large mass of people? This is usually for my HR people. Are you going into public health and you're going to be writing an environmental report and you need to distribute that report to an entire zip code in northern Fresno, where you're going to be emailing this report or sending this report to hundreds of homeowners? This is where you're going to be addressing a large mass of people. And so when it comes to, in this case, sexism and language, pretty much historically, especially in the professional worlds, in careers, using masculine pronouns, he, him, his, usually represented, that was like the gold standard, represented positions or people of any gender, doesn't matter what gender they are. But historically, this was used because women were not allowed in certain fields, women weren't allowed to be homeowners. So as you can see, some traditional examples were could be the operations specialist should check page 5 of his manual. Every physician was asked to renew his membership. But we are in the year 2025. We now have women in the workforce, women own homes. Um, it's just men and women are in the workforce, out in society in large droves. So just keep it simple, avoid personal pronouns. So you just want to remove and reword sentences to eliminate that. So uh, instead of during his first day, any new employee must report for his employment physical. During the first day, each new employee must report for a physical. All students must review the syllabus by the end of the first week. All employees must be aware of entering their holiday time before October 1st. It just keeps it simple, easy, especially because there can be some times where all branch managers are responsible for his and her, she or hers and his offices. It gets too wordy, it gets complex. All branch managers are responsible for the maintainment of their branches. There you go. Very simple, concise, and easy. And that's it. So we went over the 5 keys of good technical writing: clarity, conciseness, accuracy, your voice, and and being inclusive. So the main thing also just want to drive home is just when it comes to your writing, when it comes to business writing, remember, we're focusing on business writing, technical writing. This is different when it comes to academic writing, especially like English papers that you might have to write. This is business technical writing. Keep it short, sweet, concise. Make sure you're driving home the point because this is going to make it all digestible for your reader. Okay? And that is pretty much it, everyone. So that is the end of the second part of chapter 11. I'm going to go ahead and upload both videos to Canvas. I will make sure I upload these slides as well. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Don't hesitate to reach out. But in the meantime, I will see you all in the next chapter. All right, you have a good one.